Hi, hello, welcome back. So today I wanted to take some time and go through the Sydney Grace products that I have. I have something from almost every category that they have on their website. A few things that I don't have one of their face palettes, which means that I don't have their bronzer. But just about everything else, I have at least one item in that category. I think if I look at my overall makeup collection and I just take out what I have from Sydney Grace compared to the rest of my collection, I probably have 50% of the makeup that I have is Sydney Grace. I absolutely love the brand. If you're not new to my Instagram, then you know that. I have a lot of things that I love from the brand. I have high expectations every time I try something new, and they exceed those expectations every time. So today I wanted to do a real quick run through of all of the items that I have. If you have any specific questions or want to see any specific swatches, please let me know in the comments and I'll see what I can do. It's currently late June and Sydney Grace has an annual sale towards the end of July. I believe they call their Christmas in July sale, where they have some excellent deals. And typically each day, it's a week long, and each day of the week there's a different sale. Let me walk you through some of what I have and we'll chat about it along the way. And I will try to list as much as I can in the description box too. And like I said, I post a lot more regularly on Instagram. So if you see, if you want to see me do some more looks, I try to post those on Instagram, either just pictures or a reel of getting ready with me. So check out my Instagram if you're on there. I did film the Sydney Grace pieces of today's look, so hang out towards the end and I'll show you that before we go. Thanks so much. Okay, let's start with brushes. So these that I'm having a hard time holding up, these are Sydney Grace's face brushes. They came out with these new, all of these are new. They came out with them last year about this time. Since then, they've had a few additional releases, including this contour bronzer brush. This is the F06. Forgive me, I was rudely interrupted. On the original launch of the brushes, which includes these 5, the brush names and numbers were not included on the brush handles, but they've since redone them and they're now listed on here. So I only have one in the new, so this is F06, and then these would be F01 through F05. I very much enjoy, these have all become go-to brushes for me. I don't use a big powder brush all too much, so there's nothing wrong with this one. I just don't gravitate towards using a big powder brush typically. I use this one pretty much every day for cream, bronzer, contour products. When I first got this angled blush brush, it's fluffier than I would go to at the time. But since I got it, I've been using it more and more in the last few months especially, and now it is my go-to blush brush. So very much love this one. I think this one is listed as a foundation brush, and you could absolutely use it that way. It's a little bit fluffier than I tend to go to for a foundation brush, but I use this with a lot of cream blushes. I love this brush. It does a great job of blending everything out. That said, this one is, I think this one is listed as a concealer brush, but they also recommend this one for Sydney Grace's cream blush. We'll talk more about this blush later. And this really is the perfect size. You'll see me use it in the demo at the end. It applies the cream blush beautifully. Talked about all of them then except this brush. This brush is one that I could see myself getting a duplicate of. I think it would be a great highlighter brush, maybe a little bit large, but what I use it for primarily is for setting, and you'll see that in the demo too, that I use this to set my under eyes, and then I just buff the setting powder all over my face with this brush. Obviously, if you prefer a larger brush, this one would be great for that, but the smaller detail brush works great for me. Okay, let's look now at the eyeshadow brushes. Here are the eyeshadow brushes from Sydney Grace. I don't know that I'll go through all of them individually. There's a lot of great blending brush options. These two, you'll see me use in the demo. These have become my go-to brushes. I love them. They're super soft. These brushes, as well as the face brushes, super soft. And they have, I believe it's a walnut handle to them. They're absolutely beautiful brushes. They're super soft. They apply everything beautifully. Okay, we spoke enough about setting powder. Let me show you my Sydney Grace setting powder. This is called their Cloud 9 powder, and I've got the shade Fair. They do have a few other shades in this, and they have a translucent. I don't always wear a setting powder day to day, but when I do, it's this powder. This is so finely milled. This is so soft. It's not drying. When you open the cap, which is super beautiful and mirrored and reflective, it's got the plastic cover, so it's slotted, and there's more product up here than I usually like, but it's easy enough to just kind of, I won't do it on camera, but just kind of like pat it, and it'll push that product back through those holes back down in here. I've had this product for over a year, and I don't remember what it looked like when I first got it, but I very much enjoy this powder. It doesn't affect my sensitive skin. There's no perfume. There's no perfume in any of their products aside from the lip creams, and we'll discuss those when we get there. So I very much enjoy this setting powder. I feel like I don't hear anybody talk about it, and maybe most people haven't picked it up, but if you're curious, I think very highly of this powder. Okay, next, let's talk about the cream blush. So if you have been following along with Sydney Grace, you know that they've been doing monthly bundles in 2022 and 2023. In 2023, I think in the month of May, they had released for the first time ever in their lineup, as far as I'm aware, their cream blushes. They had 2 shades that were only available with the monthly bundle. So this shade was available with the light bundle. I have the shade Rosebud, and I don't know if that's gonna focus. There we go. I have the shade Rosebud. In the deeper bundle, they had a deeper shade of the blush. I almost bought that and got a duplicate of everything else because I wanted to try the deeper shade of cream blush too. I am a fan of blush. I went a little more neutral today, but I love blush. I'm very, very impressed with this blush. I know Kelly from Keep Beauty Real has shown these on her channel, and she's explained them very well in depth. The product is thin. It's not drying, but it's not tacky, and it's not gooey either. It looks beautiful on the skin, like a skin finish. You can build it up a little bit. You could probably build it up more if you had a bit deeper of a color. This, to be completely honest, is not a default color for me. It is beautiful, don't get me wrong, but I gravitate towards more pink or more red, especially just more saturated colors in general. And this is a beautiful color. Because I have it, I've been using it more. It's not one that I probably would have picked out of a lineup, but because I have it, I've been enjoying it. And you'll see me apply it in the demo. I think it's very flattering on my skin tone. They are going to be releasing more of these in the month of July. I don't know if it'll be with the Christmas in July sale or it'll be separate from that. I cannot wait to see what other shades they come up with in this release. Okay, so that was cream blush. Now let's talk about powder blush. So their powder blush, these are the ones that I have. They come in singles, and then you can add them. This is just a magnetic palette from Amazon, but you can add them to any magnetic single palette that you have. I hardly wear anything else. I absolutely love this blush formula. This is another item that I don't hear many people talk about from Sydney Grace. They are soft. They are pigmented, but not too pigmented in my opinion. You can see all of these shades are very natural tones, if I can put it that way. Like they're not outrageously vibrant in any given direction. You know, we've got a more purpley mauve tone, a more pinky tone, a more corally tone, but they're all within a general super flattering skin tone kind of range. I hope that makes sense. Some of these, there's just a very subtle difference between, I don't know that you'll see on camera the way that I see them in person, but I very much enjoy these blushes. Most of them are matte, except this shade, and this shade are kind of a shimmery blush finish, but I find those to be just as flattering on the skin. A lot of times, because I have them in my palette like this, I'll mix like 2 or 3 shades together. Like for today's demo, I mixed these 2 shades together, and I love these so much. I love these so much. There's only a few shades on their website of these powder blushes that I do not have. But I also don't think I'll ever be able to make a dent in these because there is plenty of product. So I'm very happy, very happy with all of these. One shade that I get a lot of use out of during the summertime is this shade Thinking of You. It's a little bit kind of a reddened sunburnt color, if you can put it that way, for my skin tone. And just to show you where that was in the palette, that's this one right here. So yeah, I love and highly recommend these powder blushes. Also, you'll see these stickers on some of my palettes, between the Sydney Grace stickers that come in their monthly bundles, and then I've got some stickers that have come with some menagerie purchases too. So those are really fun. I've been enjoying the stickers. Okay, next, highlighter. So in here, you'll see that these highlighters are singles, just like the blush powder singles. And these are beautiful highlighters. You'll see me apply one in the demo today. I don't know how well it's picking up on camera, but it's so pretty. So I've picked up some of these through monthly bundles, or what are their mystery bags. I've gotten a couple of these through mystery bags too. But these are all beautiful shades. This one has become one of my favorites, called Swinging Vines. This one is also one of my favorites, Pink Mist. This one is part of the June bundle. This one was part of the May or a previous bundle this year. And then this one's beautiful as well. This one's just kind of a champagne-y shade called Down the Aisle. So those are the powder highlighter singles. But we're not done with highlighters. Oh no, we're not. Sydney Grace also has some loose highlighters. I have the shades Shooting Star and Candied Peach. These are, again, a super finely milled powder. They are absolutely beautiful on the skin. Candied Peach is a little on the deep side for me, so I get away with it maybe later in summer when I've got a little more natural color to my skin. Shooting Star, beautiful. When I first got this, I could not put it down. I love this shade so much. It's perfect on my skin tone, just a nice little flush. You can build it up to be more blinding if you want, but it is beautiful. This is one of the products, along with a handful of other products here and there, that Sydney Grace was kind enough to send to me back in the fall of last year. Because I posted a lot about them on Instagram. They found me and they said, hey, we'd like to send you some stuff. And I was super excited about that. And from there is when one of the items that I got was Shooting Star, and I could not be happier with that product. So there's, I think, maybe 5 or 6 products of what they had sent me, and those are specifically listed out on my Instagram if you're curious. I did a couple videos on those. Everything else was purchased by yours truly. While we're talking about these fun, loose pigment products, here's a few more. These are eyeshadows. This one's the shade Last Quest. This is kind of an olivey brown tone. This is Comforting Lights, which is a shifty probably multi-chromatic shade. You can see it's kind of got a warm mauve undertone, and then it's got this beautiful flash of color to it. And then this one is Welcome to the Family, which is a beautiful summery, bronzy, peachy orange kind of shade. Those are a lot of fun to play with. One of my favorite things about playing with eyeshadows is trying different textures and playing with different mediums. And so I have some like Inglot Duraline. Sometimes I'll mix the loose pigment with that. Sometimes I'll put some, I have a JD Glow glitter glue adhesive for loose or flaky eyeshadows. So sometimes I use that. Sometimes I'll just put the loose pigment on a brush, spray it with some setting spray, and use that on my eye. But those have been a lot of fun to play with, and I enjoy playing with them. A couple more of these loose pigments. These are a little bit different texture, which again is fun. I love playing with them. These are a little bit, I guess, chunkier of a texture. They have a little more pieciness to them. The last three that I just showed are all a very smooth but sparkly texture. And then these are, they're not a glitter, and they are still eye safe as far as I'm aware. But they are very fun to play with to amp up a look for something special. So this is the shade Floating Lights, and this has, I guess, kind of a white base with a very strong flash of pink. Love that color. And this one is the shade Insomnia. And so this has kind of a purplish reddish base with a very strong flash of blue. So again, these are fun. I think of like for a party kind of occasion to change it up, to do something different. Okay, next let's talk about eyeshadow palettes. I love Sydney Grace's eyeshadow palettes. I love their eyeshadow formula. Their eyeshadow formula is exquisite. It's top notch. Their mattes are beautiful, creamy, blendable. Their shimmers are also creamy and metallic in all the right ways. I have so much fun playing with Sydney Grace eyeshadows. Most of their eyeshadows don't cause any kind of fallout for me. There are a few exceptions, and I'll kind of mention those as we go. Speaking of their powder eyeshadows specifically, but I love them. I love them so much. So let's talk through some of the pre-made palettes that they sell. As far as I'm aware, these are all still available on their website. We'll talk through the pre-made palettes, and then we'll talk through the single eyeshadows. Well-known, well-loved Tiny Marvels, which was a collaboration between Sydney Grace and the beautiful Mel Thompson. Let's do a quick look. I would imagine most people have heard or seen this palette before. This is a beautiful palette. This is so much fun. This is one that I find that it can go with every season of the year. Not that you have to wear certain shades in certain seasons or whatever, but if you like to get inspired by the seasons, this one is so good. I mean, these shades are beautiful for spring and summer, and then these shades are beautiful for fall is what they make me think of. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful palette. And with their packaging, Sydney Grace has cardboard packaging. I think some of their older palettes, specifically the Enduring Love palette, was in a metal packaging, but they don't make it that way anymore. They make it with cardboard packaging, and it's got a little weight to it. And I really appreciate that because it's a little bit of a luxurious experience. Next palette is Enduring Love. I have this in the light option. This palette, when I first saw it, I was kind of like, that's not one I'll wear. I reach for this palette probably at least once a week. Minimum, because of some of these beautiful transition crease shades. And then on top of that, I mean, look at what a staple palette this is. You've got your transition shades, you've got your deepening shades, you can go smoky with it or use these, especially these two are kind of more of their shimmer texture instead of a super metallic texture. So you can blend them out all over the lid, or you can use them kind of as an outer corner color. This palette has this super bright metallic shadow in John, a beautiful smoky silvery shade Albert, and then Devotion, which is just this perfect everyday beautiful metallic, looks great on the lid. We've got Romeo, which is perfect for inner corner or honestly even a face highlight. Deanna down here is a beautiful olive shade. This is one that can be a little bit flaky, cause a little bit of fallout, so be a little bit careful when you're using this one, but this palette is just everything. Oh, and we've got Abigail over here. That's kind of the texture of these two. Well, I just threw that palette on the floor and busted some of it. I think it'll be okay. Not all of it's bad. Just the corner of a couple shades broke off. After I just told you how much I love it. All right then. Next palette I have here is the Be Mine palette. I also have this in the light version. This is one, again, that was a little late to bringing it into my collection, but these are beautiful. You can go more brown, kind of yellowy browns. You can go more pink. And then these shades down here, if you're trying to do anything in the direction of a smoky eye, this palette offers it. This is beautiful palette, beautiful choices, and I am so glad I have this one in my collection. Okay, next we have the Tropicolor palette. So this was a collaboration with the Fancy Face and Sydney Grace. This is such a fun tropical, it makes me think of summery color story, and I am so happy to have this one too. This one leans more in the blues and greens when I look at it, and I think that's beautiful. The blues are not my default, so I don't always reach for this one, but this is so fun and I'm glad to have it. One thing to note on Sydney Grace palettes too is that I think in all of them, except maybe the Tiny Marvels and Enduring Love, they're all just magnetic removable pans, shades. So I can take a magnet and pop this shade out, and then I've got little round stickers that I've just written on there, probably TC for Tropicolor, and then the name of the shade. And then I can move these shades around however I want. So I can treat all of my palettes also as eyeshadow singles, which just means the opportunity for creativity is endless. And I love that. Okay, these next three palettes are all part of a collection. So these three are the Sydney Grace and Temptalia palettes. I have all of these three in the light version. These are the only Sydney Grace products that I did not buy from Sydney Grace. I actually bought these secondhand. While they're great, they were also a little more damaged in shipping than they would have been if they had come from Sydney Grace. So I can't hold that against the palettes themselves. But just know if the palettes look a little bit messy, that's probably why. But they like showed up for a really great deal. And I was like, how am I supposed to say no to trying these palettes? It's such a good deal. So this is the Radiant Reflection palette. So you can see this is one of those shades and this is one of those shades that are just a little bit more textured than you would expect. This one just got a little bit broken in transit, but beautiful shadows there. This one is On the Horizon. This is a favorite of a lot. These two shadows they're beautiful. They're a little bit different texture too. These are ones that might cause a little bit of fallout, but they are absolutely stunning on the lid. And lastly, from this collection, we have Quintessence. So again, this one's a little bit broken up. This one's a little bit broken up. The shade The Milky Way, which is now available on Sydney Grace website as a single. Top notch. Phenomenal. Absolutely love that shade. And love these palettes. Okay, I have three more palettes, and I think that'll be the end of the pre-made palettes. Excuse me. So I want to talk through these in the order that I got them. First, we've got the Sweet Indulgence palette. absolutely beautiful. I love all of these shades, but this is one that I think of more as a collection of single shadows. This shade here, Bubblegum, perfection. I love that shade so much. It's a beautiful mid-tone pink with a little bit of gold to it on the reflect. Kind of looks silver on camera. Silver gold, whatever. It's metallic and it's beautiful, and I very much enjoy playing with that shade and enjoy playing with this palette. Next is a palette that if something happened to this palette, I would be repurchasing it. This palette is so good in my opinion. This is the Coffee Talk palette. I have this in the light option. I freaking love this palette. This shade, Cup of Joe, is another one of those that might cause some fallout, so just be careful with that. But there is something so perfect about the shades in this palette. We've got neutral tones here, these two mattes. These two mattes are a little bit more cool toned. This is a super deep brown that you can use with the warm tones or the cool tones. We've got a nice brightening shade here. And then these three metallics at the bottom, this Ristretto shade I don't know how to describe it. It's got almost a green to it, but it's so perfectly neutral. It can go warm tone, it can go cool tone. I chose to wear this on my birthday this last year because this palette is just so right. Like, it's just so good. If you are new to eyeshadow or new to Sydney Grace, or you just prefer neutrals but you're wanting to try something from Sydney Grace, you can't do any better than this palette in my opinion. It's simple in that the variety of looks you get from it will be more simple, but those looks you'll get from it are just so good. So good. Okay, lastly in my pre-made palettes category is the Summer Days palette, and I have this one in light also. These are beautiful shades for those summer days or summer nights. This palette really makes me think of summer nights. We've got some rosy leaning warm shades on the top, and then leaning cool tone shades here in the middle row. These two metallics are amazing, excellent, beautiful. And then this is kind of their satin formula. Their shimmer formula. So with Sydney Grace, and I'll use this palette to demonstrate. With Sydney Grace on their website, when you look at their singles, they have three options. They have mattes, which are these 5 shades here. They have their their pressed pigments, which are generally their metallic shades. These are super reflective, generally very opaque, beautiful, absolutely beautiful shades. And then they have their shimmer formula, which tends to not be as popular from my understanding, but I think it's a really beautiful formula and it serves its purpose. So I would think that Basque and Blood Orange are this shimmer formula. The shimmer formula, like this Blood Orange, it has a little bit of a sheen to it, so it's not strictly a matte shadow, but when you blend it out, it blends out to look more matte. So it's definitely this kind of in between, but it's just beautiful on the lids. I did a reel with the July monthly bundle on my Instagram, and one of those shades is the shimmer formula, and it looks absolutely beautiful blended out on the lid. Okay, we are getting there. So next I want to walk through my collection of single shadows with Sydney Grace. And while I'm doing that, I want to show you their magnetic palettes. So they have 3 sizes of magnetic palettes. They have this one. This is the big one. I think this holds 48 shadows is what they say. Okay, I just checked. This palette holds 48 pans, and the magnets are strong. There's a mirror on the inside. Great palettes. I have 3 of those. And then they also have a 12 pan. This is a menagerie sticker. They have a 12 pan palette. Again, great magnet, mirror on the inside, love these. They also have a 9-pan palette. I don't have any of the 9-pan palettes because I like the size of the 12-pan. I think that works great for me. But they also make a 9-pan option. So if you're looking to try out some of the single shadows to curate your own palette, starting with the 9-pan palette is a great option because then you're less likely to get overwhelmed with the number of pans in that particular palette. So here is my current little BYOP, meaning build your own palette. These 3 shades on this end in this column here are all part of the July monthly bundle. I used these 2 shades in today's look that you'll see in the demo at the end. And then these are just some other shadows that I have. I've really been loving the kind of earthy options lately, just kind of neutrals, almost cool tones. And so that's what I have in this palette and I love it. You'll see me use a few other shades from this palette in the demo. The rest of these are organized kind of sort of by shade. So we've got kind of blue shades here, green shades. These are some mattes. And then I've got a bunch of purples and deeper pinks. Absolutely love Sydney Grace's purple pressed pigments, bar none. We've got some kind of peachy tones down here. This is a collection of a variety of other either bundles or other palettes that I've made previously that I just kind of wanted to keep together. So like this was from, I believe, the Peach Mystery Bag, and I have the rest of them in my current, the rest of the shades in this bundle are in my current BYOP. These are just some classic neutrals that I love. This was from, I think, the February bundle. This was part of a palette that I put together last summer or fall that I really liked. I think this was part of last November's bundle. These are what I've purchased so far of Sydney Grace's new multi-chrome formula. Are you kidding me? These are fantastic. I want them all. They're so beautiful. I want them all. I'm at a loss for words. These are absolutely beautiful formula. They're soft. They are easy to apply. You might have some fallout because they have a little bit more piecey texture, but the fallout is nothing like what I've seen from other brands that have this similar formula. A lot of those, like, they're flaky. When you touch them, they fall apart. When these, they're flaky, but you touch them and then they melt and they hold together. And so you still get that like beautiful texture to them, but they're not falling all over the place. I only have 2 because I'm chipping away at purchasing them. But I am so impressed with this formula. Christmas in July, watch out. I plan to pick up more. They've also been primarily out of stock, and I think other people are loving them too, and I can't blame them. Can't blame you. Okay, so this last palette of singles that I have highlights our beautiful In Mel's Memory Bundle. This was also done with Mel Thompson and Mel Thompson's family in mind. These other shades here on the outside are not part of this bundle, but I thought they flattered it well, so I wanted to keep them together. And then on this side, I have some of my more shifty, not technically duochrome, but they kind of act like duochrome shades. This is a well-loved shade, Bronze to Perfection. This is probably one of my favorite shades ever. This is the shade Hot Stuff. Same with this one. This is Peace. So these are beautiful. So one of the things that I love about Sydney Grace, if I didn't have enough things to love about Sydney Grace, even their beautiful pressed pigment formulas work beautifully. They're so creamy and they have this quality to them that you can put them all over the lid and blend them out. Maybe not even use a matte shade, just a one and done of this pressed pigment, and they have enough something to them that they look like you tried harder than you did. They look creamy and beautiful on the lid. I never have a problem with Sydney Grace shadows creasing on me throughout the day. They always stay in place. I love Sydney Grace eyeshadows as much as all of the other things that I've shown you today. I think we have just 2 things left. One of them, lip products. I have 3 shades of their lip creams. So you'll see me apply this in the demo. I have the shades Haley, Abby, and Alyssa. So this one's kind of a little bit lighter mauve tone. This one's a little bit deeper mauve tone than this one. And then this one's kind of a neutral, this is the one I wore today, kind of a neutral brownish tone shade. All beautiful. These have a little bit of a fragrance. I've heard people saying that theirs smell weird. Mine have never smelled weird. They've always smelled light, kind of a vanilla, just a sweet smell, but they're not overpowering in smell in my opinion. It took me a little while to figure out how to use this product because it's more opaque, but it's creamier like a lip gloss. And I'm not previously a real big fan of a lip gloss. Like that's just not my favorite. I've come to enjoy it more. But what I've learned about these is treat it like a lipstick, like be a little bit more precise with it, treat it like a lipstick, give it about 30 seconds. And then I like to just dab my lips off on a tissue, a napkin, the back of my hand, something to just kind of take that top layer off just a little bit. And these are awesome. They are moisturizing. The pigment lasts well all day. They feel nice on the lips. They look nice on the lips. They're great. I very much enjoy these products. They're easy to reapply throughout the day. Sometimes when you put a product on in the morning and then if you try to put it on again after lunch, it's like, this just doesn't feel right. These look great. They are, one of the things about glosses that I don't prefer is a sheerer gloss. I like to have a little more pigment to my lips, kind of like with my blush. I like a little more saturation. And so these provide a little bit more saturation in that way. So I do enjoy these. Now that I think about it, I might have another 1 or 2 shades. But I definitely enjoy these, and these are a summer staple for me. The other lip product I have here is one of their lip toppers. So these are newer to the line. This is the shade Alice. This came in a monthly bundle. And this is kind of a golden, orange, coppery, gotta go this way, kind of shade. And it's very, very pretty. I do wear this on its own from time to time. Otherwise, I like to wear it over a little bit of a lip liner. This is a good one that I'll put on like later in the day. It has a very similar moisturizing effect as to the lip creams, but it's definitely less pigmented. It's a gloss that I get along with well. So I do enjoy these lip toppers and I would like to get some in additional shades. Okay, last but not least, this would not be a Becca Jo video talking about Sydney Grace if I didn't mention the cream shadows. You guys. I love these cream shadows so much. One of the other 2 videos on my YouTube channel right now is about how much I love these cream shadows. So I won't bore you with repeating all of the same things that I discussed in that video. I have gained more since that video. Sydney Grace did a real quick sale in February, and so I picked up some more cream shadows. But these creams are so good. They are, let's pick a fun shade here. Ooh, Suntan. That's a good summer shade. These are pigmented, creamy, silky smooth on the skin. They last beautifully all day. A little bit goes a long way. Like, you certainly don't need that much. I put out too much on my hand. But like, just imagine like that over the lid, blend it out, which these blend out. Like, you put them down and then you take a brush and just blend over the edge of it. It's blended out. Like, I don't know what magic these are, but they are so good. The first one that I got, I think it was the shade Campfire, and it was a little bit deeper shade and a little bit cool toned. Nothing wrong with it, but when I got it and being new to the formula, I was like, I'm not so sure about this. And then I went ahead and took the plunge and purchased a couple more in shades that I was more inclined to pick up and wear, and blew my mind. Absolutely blew my mind. And now I also, because I've worked with them more and I understand better how to use them, I'm not afraid of using those deeper, darker shades. But if you're not sure where to start with the cream shadows, let me pick a couple for you. Of course, I recommend you pick ones in shades that you're inclined to gravitate towards. So like if I recommend a champagne shade and you're like, no, that's not me, that's not gonna work the way you want it to. But Master Plan is a beautiful one. Master Plan looks a lot like their single shadow in the shade The Greatest Gift. So it's got kind of a cool tone mauve base with a greeny shift on top. Beautiful shade, easy to wear. This one in particular is not as super, at least on my skin tone, it's not a super bold shade, so it's easier to wear in that sense too. It's not too dark, it's not too colorful in any given direction. Sunset Glow, I didn't think that this would be me, but for summertime, I mean, you can see it's like it's a peachy shade, like a true peachy shade with a very light and depth gold flip. Candlelight, classic champagne, kind of my skin but better with a little bit of that metallic flash to put on your lids. Warm Glow, this one kind of took me by surprise. It's a light, brighter pink shade, but it's not overly pink. It's just like that. It's like a light champagne pink that is just beautiful. Okay, last shade that I'll mention, The Queen. This is a taupey pink shade. So it's a little bit more mid-tone than some of the last couple that I've mentioned. But this is a one and done. This would probably be my top pick for a one and done, The Queen. It's just flattering and it's just beautiful. I do have 3 of the multi-chrome creams, and I think these are new since my last video. So these are Dragonfly, Flamethrower, and Alexandrite, and these are beautiful. I like to do them as a liner, just doing a little bit of something fun to change it up. You can wear them all over the lid, you can do whatever you want with them. That's just how I tend to grab them. So wow, that was a lot. I will go into the demo next. But from here, I'll say thank you so much for watching. Again, leave me your thoughts and comments down below. I'd love to be doing more videos here on YouTube, so if you have thoughts on what you'd like to see for videos from me, feel free to drop those suggestions or comments down below. And I hope to see you again. Thanks so much.